Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a really intriguing document. It's labeled Confidential Analytical Report, dated August 3rd, 2025.
Right. It poses a pretty startling question, actually.
It really does. Is it possible, it asks, that some Western governments, specifically the UK here, are deliberately using mass migration?
Using it to create societal instability.
Yeah, and maybe paving the way for future suppression of Christianity, all, supposedly to maintain social order. It's quite the hypothesis.
It is. But what's key, and the report is upfront about this, is that there's no, smoking gun, no memo saying, let's do this.
Right. No direct governmental documentation.
Exactly. Instead, it weaves together threads from different places. Biblical prophecy is a big one.
Mm-hmm. Specific verses cited, Revelation 13:17, Daniel 2 and 7.
Yeah, alongside current events, migration policies, obviously, the rise of secularism. And it even looks back at historical cases where migration was, weaponized.
So for you listening, trying to quickly get a handle on these complex ideas, what's the takeaway?
Well, the report suggests, cautiously, that the circumstantial evidence, it does seem to line up with some of those prophetic patterns. State-led religious marginalization.
And that governments might be exploiting the chaos from migration, whether they mean to or not?
Potentially. Exploiting it to centralize power. And it points to contradictions in the UK's own policies that definitely warrant a closer look.
Okay, so let's unpack that methodology. How did they arrive at these conclusions?
It's a mix. There's scriptural analysis, focusing on what the report calls beast systems, these powerful, oppressive governments in prophecy.
Right.
Then there's open source intelligence, looking at actual UK migration data, reports on interfaith tensions.
And comparing cases, like Soviet religious suppression or the EU migration crises.
Exactly. Comparative analysis. The idea is to pull out the really crucial insights for you from this unique combination of sources.
Okay, let's start right there then with UK migration policy. The report highlights some, discrepancies.
Big ones. You had the Home Office in 2023 saying very clearly, we're committed to reducing illegal migration.
Sounds definite.
But then look at 2024, record high channel crossings. That gap, it's pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. And the report asks, is this just incompetence? Or could it be, strategic? Creating a perception of chaos to justify more control later.
That's the unsettling possibility it explores. It even connects it prophetically, citing 2 Peter 2.19.
What does that say?
They promise freedom, but are slaves of corruption. The report suggests that this could reflect a situation where the stated policy goals, they hide a different reality, or maybe a different motive.
And it's not just migration numbers. The report also looks at religious freedom within the UK.
Right. Officially, you've got the Equality Act 2010 protecting religious freedom.
Sure.
But the report notes a trend. Rising hate speech prosecutions that seem to disproportionately affect Christians.
Another disconnect, then, between the law on paper and what's reportedly happening.
Exactly. And this observation gets linked to Matthew 10.22. You will be hated for my name's sake. The report uses this to frame it prophetically again.
So it makes you wonder if these protective laws are actually being applied unevenly, maybe subtly marginalizing certain groups.
That's the question it raises. And then there are these. The report calls them notable anomalies.
Like what?
Well, for instance, UK aid, reportedly going to NGOs that facilitate migration out of places like Libya, conflict zones.
Okay.
While at the same time, some Christian charities inside the UK are apparently seeing funding cuts.
That does sound contradictory, or at least a very curious allocation of resources.
It raises questions about priorities, doesn't it? If aid facilitates migration while domestic religious support dwindles, what's the long-term objective? The report implies it might not be what's publicly stated.
And the media narrative, how does that fit in?
Crucial piece, according to the report. It details how Christian resistance to mass migration often gets framed as extremism.
Ah, the labeling effect.
Precisely. Control the narrative, control the perception. If you label a group extreme, it makes it easier to justify restricting them later, regardless of their actual arguments. It creates a sort of chilling effect.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly. The report also examines interfaith dynamics, specifically Islam and Christianity in the UK.
Yes, and what it calls documented tensions. It cites Home Office data from 2023 showing that a large majority, I think 78%, of religious hate crimes target Muslims.
Which is a significant number.
Absolutely. But the report juxtaposes this with a claim that Christian persecution is underreported.
So a potential gap in how things are being tracked or perceived.
That's the implication. While fully acknowledging the seriousness of anti-Muslim hate crimes, it asks if anti-Christian incidents are getting enough attention, or maybe being classified differently. It affects the whole public understanding.
And this is where that alleged leaked memo comes in, the one from 2022.
That's right. An alleged London Council memo advising police, supposedly, to avoid arresting certain gangs targeting churches, to prevent community tensions.
Wow. If that's true, that's quite something.
It is. And if such a directive existed, the report sees it as prioritizing a kind of superficial calm over equal enforcement of the law.
And the prophetic link there.
Revelation 17.1 section 17, where the beast system turns on religion. The report suggests this could be a step where powerful entities might turn against religious groups, even ones they seemed okay with before, if it suits them politically.
The report doesn't just stay in the UK, though, does it? It looks globally.
No, it points to what it calls a global domino effect. These aren't isolated trends. It mentions France, for example.
With their laïcité laws,
Yeah.
the strict secularism.
Exactly. And how those laws are reportedly being used sometimes to shut down churches, citing vague public order reasons.
So a law designed for neutrality potentially being used restrictively.
That's the pattern the report highlights.
Yeah.
How public order can become a very flexible justification.
And Canada, there was a mention of a bill there.
Bill C-367, yeah.
Hmm.
A proposal to remove religious exemptions from hate speech laws.
What would that mean, practically?
Well, the concern raised in the report is that things like religious texts, sermons, core beliefs, things previously protected under religious freedom, could potentially become subject to hate speech prosecution.
That definitely raises big questions about free speech versus religious freedom.
Across multiple Western nations, yeah. It's a changing landscape.
Now, we absolutely have to stress this point because the report itself does. It acknowledges intelligence gaps.
Crucially, yes.
It explicitly states there is no direct evidence of UK officials conspiring with specific groups or deliberately engineering all this.
Correct.
Absolutely correct. That's vital. It's not claiming proof of a conspiracy. It's analytical. It's asking, do the pieces fit this hypothesis?
Rather than saying, we've proven the hypothesis.
Exactly. And it keeps its analytical balance by saying, look, there could be other explanations.
Like what?
Like simple government incompetence.
Right.
Or policies driven purely by economic factors, not some grand social engineering scheme.
Right. Those remain plausible explanations for everything observed. The report isn't dismissing them. No, and that's important for critical thinking, isn't it? Complex situations rarely have just one cause. It explores a provocative idea, but it also grounds it by saying, hey, maybe it's simpler than that. Keep watching, be discerning.
So if we try and, connect this all to the bigger picture, this deep dive into the report shows a really complex, maybe unsettling narrative being put forward.
It is compelling, even with those acknowledged gaps.
Right. No direct proof of conspiracy, alternative explanations like incompetence or economics are possible, but the report still argues quite forcefully
That the convergence of things, the migration chaos, the policy contradictions, the biblical parallels it draws, demands a heightened sense of discernment from all of us.
which leads to a really important question for you listening. In a world this complex, what does proactive preparedness over alarmism actually look like?
The report offers some thoughts on that. Strategic recommendations.
Such
Well, it suggests, for instance, that the church could actively document incidents of religious suppression. Things like street preachers being arrested or droning laws used against churches.
documenting the facts on the ground.
Yes. And it even floats the idea of building parallel economies, drawing inspiration from the early church model in Acts 2.
Interesting, and for researchers.
Monitor legislative trends. Watch those hate speech law expansions, changes in asylum quotas, and even analyze how AI surveillance might be used to track religious groups.
It keeps coming back to needing to be aware, needing to understand the trends.
And ultimately, the report frames it theologically, referencing God's sovereignty in Psalm 76.10, the idea that even human schemes ultimately serve divine purposes.
And that call to vigilance from Daniel 12.10, where the wise will understand.
Right. So the thought we want to leave you with is this. How might understanding the tensions, the potential implications outlined in this report, how might that shape your own approach?
Your approach to evaluating what's happening in society and really the crucial role of discernment and just navigating the sheer amount of information coming at us